This week, I want to ask you a rather important networking question. Does your network support your ambitions? And I'm not referring to support in a you go pom-pom waving way. As important as it is to have those cheerleaders enthusiastically encouraging us on from the sidelines, I'm referring to a different type of support. Let me explain. Back in 2001, I decided to make a career change. It was kind of agonizing for me, but I was really unhappy in the role I was in. And here's the thing, from the outside, the change I was making was not grandiose or illogical. It was a really minor professional pivot. I wanted to switch my legal career and apply my legal skills away from the contracts and the prospectuses to just managing other attorneys. I told you it wasn't earth-shattering. But here's the problem. Back in 2001, I didn't have the network to support that really minor career move. The entry roles I was seeking were all discovered and filled by a word-of-mouth network. And I had a great network in the legal community, but I didn't have a network that knew me in that management capacity. As I said, I'd been practicing law for 11 years. I had a terrific, strong network of lawyers, investment bankers, private equity, name it. So if I wanted to move in-house or to another firm in the same role, I had endless people I could call upon. But that's not what I wanted to do. I really wanted to do this other role. So I had to set about expanding my network. And in that process, here's what I discovered. There's two types of networks. There's a wide, shallow, open network. This is a network where public information is shared, where the relationships are more of acquaintance and professional connections. Maybe people you see at a conference, maybe people you know on another side of a deal, maybe someone who's in the same industry association or group at college, where there's an affinity. Maybe you had the same employer. There's an affinity, there's a connection, but it's not tremendously close. They don't have your back. They may refer you to a resource, some information, but they're not the ones to call you for a lead. The other network is the narrow, deep, close network. This is the network that provides private information, and that's the key, insider information. It is characterized by high trust. It may be narrowly defined based on proximity or expertise. It's exactly the network I had in 2001 in spades. But the network I needed to make the career change was the wide network. As I've noted, narrow networks are filled with people who've got your back. They provide mentorship. They come to your aid. Who you call at the last minute when you need something. Whether that something you need is sympathy when you get a rejection letter, or you've got volunteers that you need at the last minute and they've all bailed, you know you can rely on the folks in your close, narrow network. But like a really strong hug, that tight, close network doesn't allow much room to spread your wings and try something new. Wide networks, on the other hand, may be weak on intimacy, but are richer in diversity. From titles to experience to industry to age, gender, ability, you name it. A narrow network may keep you top of mind, but the broad network will spread your ideas and your ambitions so much further. You can probably see where this is all going at this point. You, like I discovered a few years ago, now know you need both types of networks. And if you still doubt that, there's a study out of Northwestern University that confirms it. This study looked at the link between students' graduate school social networks and their job placement into leadership positions. What they discovered was that highly successful female students had both a close inner circle and visibility in the wider graduate school community. That wider network provided these successful job seekers with general job market information, who's hiring, salaries across firms, company reputations, etc., etc. Well, their inner circle was a source of personalized information. The stuff you gain from firsthand experience could be insights on culture, the unwritten rules, tips on how to connect with a specific recruiter. Can you see how one network plays off the other? How one is one source of information that you need and the other is a newer and different source of information that you need. The wider network may tell you that X is hiring. The close network shares insights on how to get X to actually notice your resume. So back to my dilemma in 2001 and how I went about expanding my network. Because it's just not enough for me to tell you need to expand it. Let me give you some how-tos. Here's the first thing I did. I narrowed my focus on the type of management role I was looking for. I reviewed job descriptions. I made a list of the things I enjoyed in my current role. And I went on a few interviews for legal jobs at other organizations just to rule them out. Once I could articulate what I was looking for in my next role, beyond the I want a new job, I tapped my close network for introductions. I recall I reached out to 4 or 5 people, probably at most, for a tell me about your job conversation and inquiring whether they knew of anyone who was in the type of role I was seeking. I just wanted to learn more about the role. I wasn't handing my resume out looking for the job yet. From there, I got a few more informational interviews and suggestions on how I could set myself up to make the career change. At the suggestion of one person I spoke to in an informational interview, I signed up for classes at NYU's School of Professional Studies to address some apparent gaps in my resume. Doing this not only expanded my knowledge, it expanded my network. From there, I became involved in the professional organizations, those in the future role, that role I was aspiring to. That's where they were hanging out, so I got on those organizations and got on those committees. And I didn't just join. All of us can join. All of us can be passive members of an organization or a network. I became an active participant because I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be seen in the role I was seeking to have. So I became a member of a committee planning events. That journey to making the career change also put me in touch with others who were trying to do the same thing I was doing. So this might be contrarian advice. I organized regular happy hours with those people. Yeah, competitors for the same job. It was a chance for us to commiserate. It was a chance for us to share experiences. As I noted, this may sound strange, and why would you help someone else who's going for the same job you are? But you know what? Who gets the job is outside of your control, and the benefits of having a network to tap into far outweighs the downside. So, let's go back to the question that started this podcast. Does your network support your ambitions? I've got a few more to-dos for you this week to test the strength and diversity of your network. Take a look at your calendar. What activities are you involved in, and who are you hanging out with when you do them? If you're seeing the same people at the office, on the weekends, when you volunteer, at the bowling league, maybe you need to shake things up a little bit. Keeping your hands busy is a good way to meet new people. So, explore some volunteer or other interest-based activities. This applies for internal networking too if you work for a big company or organization. Many of them have community service days or volunteer initiatives. A good way to expand your internal network is to volunteer with colleagues from another department rather than the crew you work with every single day. If you're seeking to make a big career pivot, sign up for a class or a mastermind group related to your future ambition before you quit your job. You'll not only get feedback on your idea, you'll have a vital support group who truly understands your need to switch careers. Until next week, keep networking. Thank you for listening to Build Your Dream Network. Stay connected and don't miss a networking insight by subscribing to the podcast. And while you're there, I'd love you to rate and review the show too. Are you looking for more networking advice? Pick up a copy of my book, Build Your Dream Network. It's your guide to modern networking. I'd like to hear your networking questions, tips, and ideas. Connect with me via my website, jkellyhoey.co. You'll find links to all my social media accounts, plus a contact form to email me your questions. I'm Kelly Hoey, and I'll be back again next week to tackle your networking challenges.